Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another video. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you will be updated on all my future content. So this video is going to be a review of subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. So very similar to the last live stream I did. The only difference is that instead of adding the fractions, we're going to subtract them. So step one, when you're subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, you have to find a common denominator. And one way to do that is to multiply the two separate denominators. So we got to multiply 2 times 10. 2 times 10 equals 20, so 20 will be our common denominator for this problem. Next, we have to multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. So the 1 1/2, we have to multiply that times 10. The 3 3/10, we have to multiply that 3 times 2. And they call it the butterfly method because it's shaped like a butterfly, more or less. All right. 1 times 10 equals 10. 2 times 3 equals 6. So the 1/2 gets converted to 10/20. The 3/10 gets converted to 6/20. And look at me, I put the wrong sign there. You see, that's why you don't rush. If you rush, you make mistakes. The difference between adding fractions with unlike denominators and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, the sign is the only difference. Instead of adding our numerators, we subtract our numerators. So 10 minus 6 equals 4. Now that we have a common denominator, it can stay the same. And we have our final answer. 1/2 minus 3/10 is equal to 4/20. All right, moving on to the next example. Make that 4 a little bit neater. Legibility does matter. So we have 4/5 minus 1/14. So step 1, we have to multiply our two unlike denominators to get a common denominator. Well, listen carefully, stay focused. Your brain will probably hurt a little less after I go through the steps. So 5 times 14 equals 70. So 70 is our common denominator. So 70 is our common denominator for this problem. Now to find our numerators again, we multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. So the 4 4/5, we have to multiply that times 14. 4 times 14 equals 56. The 1 1/14, we have to multiply that times 5. 1 times 5 equals 5. So the 4/5 has been converted to 56/70. The 1/14 has been converted to 5/70. And now we are ready to subtract. So 56 minus 5 equals 51. Now that we have a common denominator, our denominator will stay the same number on the bottom of the fraction. So we have our answer. 4/5 minus 1/14 equals 51/70. All right, next example. All right, 9/10 minus 1/4. So step 1, we have to find the common denominator. And we find the common denominator by multiplying our two different denominators. So 10 times 4 equals 40. So 40 is our common denominator for this problem. Next, we multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. 9 times 4 equals 36. 1 times 10 equals 10. So the 9/10 has been converted to 36/40. The 1/4 has been converted to 10/40. So 36 minus 10 equals 26. Now that we have a common denominator, it will stay the same when we subtract the fractions. And we have our answer. 9/10 minus 1/4 equals 26/40. Now that answer is not in lowest terms, but as I said on the last live stream, I will at some point do another live stream where I reduce fractions to lowest terms. So even though that's not technically the final answer, we're going to make it the final answer for this video. On a separate video, on a separate live stream, I'm going to reduce 26/40 to lowest terms, but I don't want to throw too much at my audience at once. All right, next example. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Please hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm. Hi, welcome to the chat. So step 1, we have to multiply our two separate denominators to get a common denominator. We got to multiply 4 times 6. 4 times 6 equals 24. So 24 is our common denominator for this next problem. Next, we have to multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. So 3 times 6 equals 18. 1 times 4 equals 4. So the 3/4 has been converted to 18/24. The 1/6 has been converted to 4/24. Now that we have a common denominator, we can now subtract our numerators. So 18 minus 4 equals 14. And we have our final answer. 3/4 minus 1/6 equals 14/24. Again, answer is not in lowest terms. On a separate live stream, I will probably reduce all of these answers or most of these answers to lowest terms. But 14/24 is our answer. Next example problem, we have 7/8 minus 1/3. Step 1, we've got to find a common denominator, and we do that by multiplying our two different denominators. So we're going to multiply 8 times 3. 8 times 3 equals 24. So again, for this next problem, 24, again, is our common denominator. Next, we have to multiply each numerator by the opposite denominator. So the 7 and 7/8, we multiply that times 3. The 1 and 1/3, we multiply that times 8. So 7 times 3. 7 times 3 is 21. 8 times 1 is 8. So 7/8 has been converted to 21/24. 1/3 has been converted to 8/24. Now we are ready to subtract our numerators. 21 minus 8 equals 13. Now that we have a common denominator, it will stay the same. We have our final answer, 7/8 minus 1/3 equals 13/24. Shout out to the person that just hit the like button. I appreciate you. All right, moving on to our next example problem. This could be the final example problem of the live stream. Seven tenths minus 3/5. Again, step 1, we have to multiply our two different denominators. 10 times 5 equals 50. So 50 is our common denominator for this next problem. Next, we multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. 7 times 5 equals 35. 3 times 10 equals 30. So our 7 tenths has been converted to 35/50ths. Our 3/5 has been converted to 30/50ths. Hey, welcome back. So now we have to subtract 35/50ths minus 30/50ths. We have our final answer. Well, not our final answer because it could be reduced. But 7 tenths minus 3/5 equals 5/50ths. Now 5/50ths is not in lowest terms, but again, on a future live stream, I will reduce that fraction to lowest terms. But for this live stream, we're going to leave it as the final answer. that was going to be my last problem, but since a returning viewer just came into the chat, I will do a couple of more. I will do a couple more problems. Probably do 2 more. Because I appreciate my viewers so much, especially when they return, when they come back for second and third videos. All right, 3/4 minus 1/9. So step 1, we got to multiply our 2 separate denominators. 4 times 9 equals 36. Step 2, we have to multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. The 3 and 3/4, we have to multiply that times 9. The 1 and 1/9, we got to multiply that times 4. 3 times 9 equals 27. 1 times 4 equals 4. So 36 was our common denominator for this problem. 3/4 has been converted to 27/36. 1/9 has been converted to 4/36. Let me put the subtraction sign more toward the middle of the 2 fractions here. All right, and now we got to subtract our numerators. 27 minus 4 equals 23. Because we now have a common denominator, that'll stay the same, and we have our answer. 3/4 minus 1/9 equals 23/36. All right, next example problem. All right, 4/5 minus 4/9. Step 1, we multiply our 2 different denominators to get a common denominator. So 5 times 9 equals 45. So 45 is our common denominator for this problem. And we got to figure out our numerators by multiplying each numerator times the opposite denominator. The 4 and 4/5, we multiply that times 9. The 4 and 4/9, we multiply that times 5. Four times 9 equals 36. 4 times 5 equals 20. So the 4/5 has been converted to 36/45. The 4/9 has been converted to 20/45. So now that we have a common denominator, we can subtract our numerators. 36 minus 20 equals 16. Now that we have a common denominator, it stays the same. And we have our final answer. 4/5 minus 4/9 equals 16/45. All right. I'll make this next problem the final problem of the video. Seven eighths minus 4/10. Step 1, we multiply our 2 different denominators to get a common denominator. 8 times 10 equals 80. So 80 is our common denominator for this problem. Step 2, we multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. The 7 and 7/8, we have to multiply that times 10. The 4 and 4/10, we have to multiply that times 8. 7 times 10 equals 70. Sometimes I like to write a multiplication sign in, but I don't think it's needed. I think everybody understands that multiplying is the next step at this point. All right, 4 times 8 equals 32. So the 7/8 has been converted to 70/80. The 4/10 has been converted to 32/80. And now we are ready to subtract. $70 minus 32 equals 38. Now that we have a common denominator, it would stay the same in our answer. And we have our answer, 7/8 minus 4/10 equals 38/80. 38/80, again, is another answer that is not in lowest terms. So on a separate live stream, I'm going to do another live stream where I reduce some of the answers that were not in lowest terms into lowest terms. But that will be our final answer for this video. All right, that is my video for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the video. And if there is an area of math or reading that you're having difficulty with, put that in the comments, and I will do a future video on that skill. Until next time, this is Mr. Camilleri, signing off. Have a great day and God bless.